out there and create some more leaders. Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see some of you younger guys that'll be able to come up here as well and get this wonderful medal. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone, once again to the Small College Basketball Podcast. My name is Chris Cottrell. I'm here today with Coach Steve Drabyn. We're going to celebrate the players, the programs, the coaches, the history of small college basketball together. And as we're talking off air, we're getting snow up in New York. There is snow in Bethel, in Indiana. We've got to throw out a shout out to the sponsor, visitcentralflorida.com, because everybody wants to get to Florida right now. It is cold. It is snowy. So if you haven't done so already, start planning your Central Florida vacation. Visit centralflorida.com. Again, visit centralflorida.com. Thanks to Steve Drabyn for being here, head coach at Bethel University, 2023 National Christian College Athletic Association men's basketball national champion, off to a great start this season in the Crossroads League and the NAIA. So, Coach, busy time of year. It's cold. I bet you're glad to at least be inside talking some basketball.
Yeah, no doubt. I got the fire going on in the background here, and yeah, you talked about that visit Central Florida. We had our small group this morning or this evening, and a couple had just gotten back from Central Florida, so I think they might have been in South Florida. So yeah, it's time of year where you want to be down south. And I remember at my previous stop, I was at Lipscomb University, and 4 teams in our conference were from Florida. So we made 2 or 4 trips depending on the year down there each year. But here at Bethel, man, we go to we got 8 out of our 9 teams are from Indiana. The other team is in Michigan, in Mount Vernon, Ohio as well. So we're all cold up here, and we had 8 to 10 inches last couple of days, and game canceled yesterday versus Grace College. And but hey, we're an indoor sport, so as long as people can get to games, we can get officials there, and we can play the games if the roads are okay.
Absolutely. You guys are off to a great start. Congratulations. About halfway through the season right now. You are receiving votes in the NAIA top 25. You're 13-3 overall, 4-2 in what we've talked about, off air, is the always challenging Crossroads League. And your game against number 1, you just mentioned it, number 1 in the country for NAIA right now, Grace College. You were supposed to play them yesterday, Saturday. That game has been postponed to Wednesday, January 24th. So interestingly enough, this podcast, we go off the X's and O's. We're going to talk about kind of what's going on for Coach Drabyn and your team. How does that schedule change? How does the weather impact your routine as a coach? And then where's your team at right now from a routine standpoint and kind of a flow standpoint? Because it's a hard time of year to be disrupted.
Yeah, no doubt. Great question. It's every year. This is my 5th year here at Bethel. October, November, December, it's easy to keep it fresh because you have your games are on different nights, different times. We try to schedule maybe a back-to-back, like a Friday, Saturday, just to kind of prepare for if we're able to make the national tournament. That's what you're going to have, there. And so, it's mixed up. You have the Christmas break, Thanksgiving break. But then you hit January, February, and you're in New York, where it's cold and you got the permacloud here. You don't see the sun a whole lot.
That's right.
You got to mix it up and keep it fresh. And, our games are Wednesday, Saturday every week, all conference games from here on out. And how do you keep it fresh for the guys? We've thought about doing retreat, maybe a retreat into January, early February, or, getting the guys to a hotel, taking them out to eat, go bowling or whatever it may be, just trying to mix it up and get away from the monotony of the same schedule every week. And Obviously we were supposed to play Grace College, #1 team in the country yesterday at home, and that got canceled because of the weather. And then we were thinking about playing it tomorrow, but weather's not cooperating as well. So we actually have a scheduled kind of a bye date a week from Wednesday that we're going to play that game. So it essentially our bye would have been yesterday, and so we're going to just kind of keep going as scheduled. We'll play Spring Arbor at Spring Arbor on Wednesday this week, Taylor at home on Saturday, and then we'll add the Grace game a week from Wednesday and pretty much keep the same schedule. So it doesn't affect us a whole lot. We had a shoot around yesterday thinking we were going to play the game, and 10 minutes to go in the shoot around, I got a call from the athletic director saying that it was canceled. So we got a little bit of a workout in yesterday. We're off today. So from here on out, we'll keep the same schedule going forward.
Yeah. And I guess a follow-up to that would be, how do you quantify, how do you value, rest? Because in January, everyone's talking about, like, there's that double-edged sword of keeping it fresh for your guys, breaking up the monotony. But by the same point, they need rest. I mean, we go through the same thing in the high school season. So how do you feel about getting the rest for your guys at this moment compared to getting them prepared and keeping in the routine?
Yeah, another great question. So we mix it up from week to week. We'll talk as a staff, daily, just about rest and who maybe plays big minutes that may need a day off or just a lighter day. We try to go hard. We have Sundays off. We try to go pretty hard on Mondays. Just with that day off the day before. We'll go a little bit lighter on Tuesday, the game Wednesday. A lot of times we'll give our top 2, 3, 4 players maybe the day off on Thursday. We might roll out, maybe they'll lift body weight type stuff. And then we'll maybe give some of those guys a day off on that Thursday just for their bodies to rest. And then we'll go a little bit harder on Friday than we typically would on the day before a game. That's kind of how our routine has been right now. Again, it could change from week to week. We've even had the thought of taking that Thursday off, maybe surprising the guys. I don't know if they're going to listen to this or not, but I don't want to give it away. Maybe showing up to practice and, just saying, hey, we're going to go bowling or go watch a movie or something like that, just to mix it up. But yeah, it's important as a staff just to keep the guy, again, you don't want to do load management, but you want to keep your guys fresh. Our best player, Drew Lutz, last year played 37, 38 minutes a game. And so we gave him a lot of days off just because he needed it. And our team knew it, and they were totally fine with it. They understood. And then we try to get, maybe some guys that don't play a whole lot or don't play at all. We still need to get those guys some work just in case they may need to get in their rotation. So it's definitely a balance from week to week.
And talking about that week-to-week grind, Wednesday, Saturday, we were talking before we got started off air, the Crossroads League is so good. You mentioned this week, by the time this episode airs, you'll have played Spring Arbor, you'll have played Taylor, both of whom have, gotten off the pretty good starts. Taylor and Spring Arbor, both winning games in your league, both going to be challenges. How, I guess, talk about the strength of your league and how you get your guys up every night, because you're receiving votes right now. So there's that light at the end of the tunnel where you can see how good you could be. January is kind of the time where you got to make it or break it.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I'm from Indiana, grew up in LaPorte, Indiana, about 50 minutes from Bethel here. And so I grew up around the Crossroads League and then even going down south a little bit to play and to coach for a few years. Greg Tonigal was a high school teammate of mine, good friend of mine, kind of a coaching mentor in the business. He's over at Indiana Wesleyan. Scott Heddy, I coached with for a year. He was at Marion before I got here. So I kind of kept my eye on the Crossroads League, as I had some aspirations of wanting to be a head coach. And so I followed it for some time, and I knew it was a good league before. Now coaching in this league, it's a lot better than I even thought. And a big part of it's just, number one, the coaches. The coaches are really, really good. And no offense to the conference I came from, Atlantic Sun, but the coaches in this league, in my opinion, are as good or better than that league. And then the talent level is really good. You may not have the athlete that you have at maybe the mid-major Division I level, but the offensive skill level is off the charts. Guys that just understand how to play. It's a pure league where basketball is ingrained in them. A lot of these kids in this league are from Indiana high schools where they have phenomenal coaching. And so they understand the game and they understand winning and what goes into winning. And then culture. I think, we talked, my first couple of years, we had a lot of different guys. I had 4 guys on our roster when I got the job. So we had to recruit 11 guys in 2.5 months that first year. And just trying to organize that roster and get it cohesive to the system of play that we want was challenging for a couple of years. Now I feel like we have our culture a little bit more established and set in place. And if you don't have that, it's tough to win in our league because teams are so cohesive. They're together. They've been around for 2, 3, 4 years. Same players. I mean, Grace feels like they've had guys for 10 years on their roster, just with the red shirt and the COVID year. And, this league, they recruit high school kids that they can develop over the course of 3, 4 years. And so you got to have talent, you have to have coaching, you have to have culture, and you have to have health. If you have a player or 2 out, it's going to be challenging to win as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've told our team all season long, you gotta have luck, you gotta have health, and you gotta have buy-in. You don't have those 3 things, it's really hard to have a special season. You can't have 2 out of 3.
Exactly.
You can't have 2 out of 3. And I want you to talk about a little bit. There's 2 follow-ups I have to your point on the Crossroads League. First is in the NAIA division, in that at that level, can you talk about just the overall ability for players to score? You mentioned offensive skill, and I think that athleticism maybe is what separates levels at times, Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA. But in the NAIA, and even if you go to Division 3, the offensive skill, the offensive ability to score the ball, I think is unmatched.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, at our level, like you said, for instance, I kind of look at myself a little bit. I was 5'11", undersized. I won the best athlete in the world. I had to be a little bit different to be able to play at a higher level. I had to think the game well. I had to have a level of toughness. I had to get the most out of my ability. And I think that's what a lot of coaches in the NAI and especially in the Crossroads League, they try to get those kids, those players that get the most out of their ability. We don't get as many guys with a high level of potential. We get those guys that are right, close to the max of their potential, and to where, the offensive skill, man, they can handle it, they can pass it, they can shoot it, they make others around them better, they fit systems well. They maximize their talent level, and there's so many players at this level that are that way. We talk all the time about, he's an Indiana type of kid, Indiana high school basketball type of player. And you have a lot of those players in our league and at this level, at the NAIA level.
And you mentioned it, but what's the culture of your league? There's obviously great cultures within the programs in your league. What's the culture of your league, though? I think a lot of coaches would love to hear this.
Yeah, there's such a level of togetherness amongst each team. Where guys they don't care about who gets the credit. I look at our program, where this year, more than other years, we've had a lot of guys score 15 plus points in a game. We've had different guys lead us. Obviously our best player, Drew Lutz, is leading us in scoring, but we're averaging over 18 assists per game. So we have an unselfish team. Look at Grace, and they play 10 guys. And there's some games where other guys play more than others. And you look at Indiana Wesleyan, and so there's just a level of togetherness and unselfishness. The spiritual part of our league where Christ is proclaimed, and faith is a big part of it. And I think that is extremely helpful, where it's God first, others second, yourself third. And there's an unselfishness to it. And then there's a level of toughness and competitiveness where I can't tell you how many times we've had double-digit lead, or the opposing team has had a double-digit lead, and and that other team comes right back because there's no team dissension, there's no blaming, there's no pointing fingers. Teams just stay together and find a way to come back. And like, you have to play 40 minutes to win games. If you play 35, you're going to get beat. And so it's just, yeah, there's a level of togetherness, a spiritual aspect to it, of resilience, and a competitive drive that is elite in this league.
Luckily for you, you have Drew Lutz. Last week, he was named the Crossroads Player of the Week. He's your senior guard, leads your team in scoring. He was also the NCCAA Player of the Week last week. Hit his 1,000 career point mark last week. So had a great week. Has had a great career for you. Talk about his impact on your program, especially being with you this long.
Yeah, Drew Lutz is phenomenal. We were extremely fortunate to get him to come to Bethel a couple of years ago. You know, he was originally committed to Bethel 5 years ago when I took over. You know, when the coaching change happened, he kind of reopened his recruitment and ended up at Incarnate Word. And luckily, after 3 years, he wanted to kind of come back home. He lives 10 miles from campus, his family, and so it's nice to have him back close to home and, you know, see the Lutz family in Gates Gym. But, you know, he's a leader. He's a high character guy. He has a tremendous level of, you know, work ethic where he's in the gym all the time and he gets other players with him. You know, he's a positive leader. Guys follow him. He makes other players better. He's just one of those transformative players that helps change your program, and he's really set the standard here. He's changed our standard and risen the bar for what it takes to be a college basketball player at a high level. And so super proud of him. He's grown even as he's been here. You know, he's got a tremendous level of wanting to get better each and every day, and he's made his players and his coaches better for sure.
And along with him, you know, you've got Preston Phillips, you've got James Anderson, you know, Nathan Ertz. So you can go on and on down the list. But one player I wanted to get to and have you talk about a little bit along with the others is Clay Hilliard. How's his impact been for the team? He's just recently started playing for you, and he's averaging double figures. So he's got to have some positive impact along with the other guys that you can go to on a night-to-night basis.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, along with Drew Lutz, obviously, you know, the guys you mentioned, Preston Phillips and Nathan Ertz, and you know, James Anderson is a 5-man that's come on this year as a transfer that's really helped us. We've got some size to go around Drew Lutz, a size that has been producing at a high level. I think James Anderson, I don't know these numbers for sure, but I think James is 68% field goal percentage from 2. Preston Phillips right now, I actually do know this. He's 71 for 96 from 2. Whatever percent that is, just above 73%. So it's pretty phenomenal.
James and Preston are both, yeah, you're right on. They're both right at 70%, just a clip over and a clip below. Absolutely right.
The unselfishness of those guys is awesome. You know, that's why our assist level or assist totals are so high. And you know, it's hard to double team anybody. You double team. We actually have a drill in practice we do every other day where we just have Drew hit with the ball. Somebody sets him a ball screen or dribble handoff, and they double him, and he gets it to Preston or James or Nate, and they go make a play. You know, 4-on-3 advantage, and so the unselfishness of those guys has been good. And teams before we had Clay Hilliard eligible would just pack the paint because we had good shooting but not great shooting. Now with Clay, you can't pack the paint anymore. You know, kind of like not comparing him to Steph Curry, but Steph Curry walks on the floor, you know, just past half court, you got to pick him up. So, you know, Clay just spaces the floor. And with a guy like Drew Lutz, who's such a good athlete and point guard, and his ability to get it in the paint, and with James and Preston and Nate, their ability to score it inside, he's gotten some great looks early on and had some good games, and it just makes the game easier for Drew and for those other guys. And so we're much more well balanced with Clay on the floor, and our guys have felt it. They felt the freedom that it brings them and ability to get better and easier stuff on the offensive end.
Yeah, and so now you're transitioning, you're 5 years in, you've got what seems to be your culture instilled. You've got the guys and the pieces that fit your system. Looking back, first time head coach 5 years ago, what do you tell yourself now that you wish you had told yourself 5 years ago?
Wow, that's a good question. I hadn't had that one since I've been here.
We got some good go-tos on
Good
the
stuff, yeah.
podcast.
What would I tell myself 5 years ago? I can remember that first month or two, because I played at the Division I level, coached there for a good amount of years. I coached at the high school level. I'd not been at the NAIA level, and just the rules were a little bit different, can be tricky, and new school and all that. My head was spinning for the first. Mark Polsgrove was my assistant at the time, and we were just trying to get our feet underneath us. And I would just say to, just take it one day at a time. I was so overwhelmed those first couple months, and I can remember being just emotional at times. Like, I don't know what I'm doing or how I'm going to get these things done, and you just got to take one day at a time. I just tell myself to relax and just handle one big thing at a time. I'm a big Craig Groeschel podcast fan. He's got some great leadership stuff, and
Yeah.
one thing I would have told myself is we developed this year, this fall, when I listened to one of his podcasts. He had like a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. And we kind of have organized our task list from tier 1, which is the most important. You have maybe 2 or 3 things on there. Then tier 2 is important but not urgent, and all the way down the list. And I would have liked to have had, because I was kind of going all over the place that first couple of months and first year. So just to be a little bit more organized in that respect. But one thing I did do a good job of then, and I really tried to keep that going, it's just relationships.
Yeah.
If I met the minimums in a lot of areas, I tried not to meet the minimums, and just relationships with our staff, with our players. We take them to lunch, breakfast, try to get them off campus, just to connect with them so that they know that we care about them, not just as players, but as people as well. And that's something I tried to do early on, and hopefully we've kept going as a staff. So, yeah.
Yeah, one of the comments that was made in an episode prior was, not every fire is going to burn the house down.
Yeah.
Like not every problem is going to be a fire, but when you're a first time head coach, those first 2 months, everything is like just you're trying to figure it out, and everything is like it's urgent. When you're right, there are tiers, and if you could know how to organize them, it would be a lot easier for everybody. No doubt. No doubt. Do you miss the South, spending some time down there, getting those trips to Florida? Do you miss Indiana guy, but can you miss the South?
A little bit. My wife's standing here in the kitchen listening to me. She's mentioned a time or two how, she misses the South a little bit, the warmer weather and that kind of thing. We had some good friends down in Nashville, and we were in Florida for a couple of years, and Florida, October through May was pretty nice down there in Florida. Another shout out to the Central Florida.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, kind of being back up here in Northern Indiana, close to home, it's been nice I think my first couple of trips up to Indiana from Nashville, I was trying to meet with some of the freshman commits, and Nathan Ertz from Valpo. We had a guy from Southern Indiana, then another guy from South Bend, and all 3 of the recruits and their families had a connection of mine. Knew maybe my uncle, one knew one of the teachers that I went to school with, and there was all a connection. So it's nice kind of being in home, familiar territory where some people and know a lot of the coaches, and but yeah, there's definitely still some stuff about the South that I miss, and the Southern cooking and Southern hospitality, and obviously the warmer weather.
Well, we can't fault you for that. I'm in New York, and I miss the South. I miss North Carolina and Virginia and Tennessee all the time, especially in January, February.
No doubt.
So part of the reason we had this podcast scheduled was because last season you did win the National Christian College Athletic Association National Championship, got to hold the banner and raise the trophy. Two questions on that. First, can you explain the difference for the listeners between playing for the NAIA championship and then the NCCAA championship, just so everyone has an understanding?
Yeah. So the NAI, that's the, affiliation that we have here at Bethel. The NAI is a little bit higher level as far as the types of teams and the, overall teams are a little bit better at this level. It's what we shoot for. It's our goal is to make the NAIA national tournament every year and to try to go as far as we can to try to win a red banner. Bethel has won 3 NAIA national titles in its history. And before, a couple years ago when NAIA Division I and Division II merged to just one level, NAIA is all one division now.
Right.
If you made the NAIA, you weren't able to play in the NCCA because they kind of coincided, they were together. But now when they went to 64 teams, all one division, they have an opening round where you have 4 teams at a site. And then the winner of those 2 games will go to the Sweet 16 in Kansas City. And so even if you make the NAIA national tournament, which we did last year, if you get beat in the first or second round, we unfortunately lost to Dort in the first round of the NAIA national tournament. The NCCA national tournament, it's a week later. And that was held at Grace College, which pretty close to us, 50 minutes away, which was nice. We have to make a declaration about 3 weeks prior to that, just based on injuries and, some other things that you might have a bunch of seniors and whatnot. Declaration if you want to play in the NCCA. And I thought, my athletic director, Tony Natale, and I talked. We had some young players, a lot of guys coming back, Drew Lutz, Nathan Ertz, and some young freshmen. We would love to play in it if we either don't make the national tournament or if we get beat in the first or second round. And to be honest with you, when we got beat by Dort, we knew that we had declared and we were committed to playing. Our players did not want to play in it. I'll be honest with you. I met with them. So after the game, we're all disappointed, and I'm talking with my AD, and he's like, "Coach, we made a declaration. We have a commitment to playing it. So we're playing in it. We have no choice." And so I met with our guys the morning after in a conference room after we had breakfast and told them we're playing in it. And they were not happy. They wanted to, just, you get beat, culmination of a season, you lose in a national tournament, you're down, and you want to go far in the tournament. We had a team that could make a run. And however, I told them one of my charges was this tournament is going to be great for us for several reasons. Number one, it's going to give us more tournament experience. It's going to give our younger guys more experience. It's the National Christian College Athletic Association. The extra C is for Christ, and we're going to grow spiritually from it. And so Grace put on a great event, great national tournament. There was a banquet that was awesome, that we had a really good speaker, and we did a community service project during the week and just got our guys focused back on the right things. Not that they were, on the negative things before, but it just got our hearts right. And then when we went to the first game and watched, I think we were watching Fort Lauderdale, we watched Clinton's game. Man, were those teams good. They were athletic, they were talented. I think our guys were like, whoa, this is a pretty good high-level tournament. And then as we got playing, our guys kind of felt, it was a tournament. And
Right.
they fit it, and we're not that they weren't committed, but they just became more and more motivated to play in it and to play well. And we had some unbelievable things. We had a couple guys. We had a guy with a concussion that couldn't play. We had another guy decide that he wasn't going to play the next year, and so he wanted the other guys to get the opportunity. We were down to 10 players. Drew Lutz, our best player, got hurt in the semifinal, didn't play in the second half. And so we were playing Trent Edwards at the point, who hadn't played the point guard position all year. Nathan Ertz, our second best player, got the stomach bug the night before the national title game and didn't play in it. He tried to do it, tried to make the trip, but couldn't do it. Ended up going to the ER. His parents took him to the ER. So we had a guy, Life Granville, start the national title game, NCCA, that probably played a total of 20, 30 minutes all year. And I think he had 16 points and 10 rebounds in the final. It was just awesome. And a lot of our students and faculty came. And, you know, when you cut down nets and win a national championship, there's just something said for that, even though it's not the one that we wanted in the NAIA. But it was still very special, and our guys grew a ton from it. And I'm really, really glad we did it.
So winning that last game, winning that national championship, doesn't matter what the letters are. You got to win a championship.
No doubt. Yeah, it's something that our guys will always remember. We got rings we had a ring ceremony our first game this year against Calumet. And, you know, it's just one of the things I mentioned to the guys before the game was, hey, let's go make a memory. You know, it's a memory that our guys will never forget. And, you know, the Life Granville having a great game, you know, Drew Lutz, Nathan Ertz going down and having other guys step up and play meaningful minutes that hadn't gotten much time. You know, it was a very special time for just our team and our program, and a springboard into the summer and into this season. I promise you that winning that title last year has helped us this year be a better team and be a better coaching staff.
That's awesome. Well, Coach, it's a busy time of year. I want to respect your time and get you out of here with one last question. Again, going off the court. So what's the best moment that you've shared with your team so far? Not in practice, not in a game.
Yeah, great question. So we went on a mission trip this summer to the Dominican Republic.
Nice.
We're fortunate to raise some money to go on that trip and to a place called Cayetano Hermosan, and a place that Bethel teams have gone before. Nobody on our team or program had gone there, but the Bethel program had gone there before. And my favorite part of the trip was each night we would do reflection time, and each person, each player, coach, staff member would share, you know, something that stood out, you know, a God moment during the day. And several stood out to me. You know, we had guys talking about how grateful the kids there in the DR were. You know, some of the kids wore the same clothes every day. Some of the kids didn't have shoes, but they just had smiles on their faces every day. When we'd walk to the gym, you know, 2 or 3 times a day, they could see us from 2-3 blocks away. They would stop what they were doing and walk towards us and dap us up and high five and hug, and just the gratefulness that they had. And then Drew Lutz, you know, we won an awesome game, fun game. We played a local team, went in double overtime. One of our players had a, you know, pretty incredible dunk, and the kids were on the floor just doing this and mosh pitting after the game, after the win. It's just a fun game and fun time. And back at the place, the church we were staying at, we had reflection time, and Drew Lutz made a comment, our best player, like, man, it was fun to win the game. It was awesome to see the kids have such fun. But the one thing that makes me most happy is that now it gives us an opportunity to have a bigger platform to proclaim the gospel. And I was the next person to go, and I couldn't even get any words out. I was so emotional about, because that's why we made the trip. You know, that's why we did that, was to have an impact on other people. It's not about accomplishments, but about impacting others for Christ. And yeah, that was maybe one of my favorite moments from this team, this group, non-basketball related.
That's a great moment. And I think that goes to show just the complexity and the all-encompassing nature of NAIA. You know, like, it is a holistic experience to play NAIA basketball. And so totally grateful for you to share that memory and to have you on with us tonight. You know, best of luck going forward, man.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Chris, and appreciate your time and all you do for small college basketball.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.